Okay, got some progress on this old beast. We just decided to remount the solenoid where it's easier to get, because the original location is literally behind this, next, basically impossible to get to. We're gonna switch over to an alternator from a generator, and it turns out that this, besides being originally 6-volt, it is a positive ground system, so we can't use that alternator. We've been using this thing since the day we bought it without it generating any power and discharging the battery, but belts are all intact. That one's off from the rest of the belts, and we got it rewired with a new wire, replacement starter. Good golly, can you even see that thing in there? Yeah, it's in there. My goodness gracious, is it in there. And now I think I can hold things just right. Still don't have the dashboard put back together, but I can show that it once again, it runs like it's supposed to. And I can even show it even makes noise like a 2-stroke's supposed to. I guess so that you can overhear me. I'll silence the device that turns diesel fuel into noise and smoke so that you can hear what I'm saying. And I'll come around here to Never Ever Land. I thought one of these hoses was leaking, but now with it running, because there's this guard that goes over here and you can't see anything when this thing's fully assembled, and I thought one of those hoses was leaking for sure, because I'm literally adding 2 quarts of oil to this thing every hour. So I'm a little mystified as to where 2 quarts of oil an hour is going. It seems a little twee bit on the excessive side. I had the little end of the shutdown, that's the shutdown cable, and it pulls down on that piece. It pushes down on that rod, and it forces the injection pump to a no fuel state to shut it down. That's how these things shut down, because there's no electronics on this thing at all. But now that I've gotten it running, well, with the help of a few other people, because this has been, my gosh, trying to understand the wiring system of an OEM John Deere piece of equipment with, it says John Deere, a General Motors 2-stroke diesel in it, is the most overcomplicated wiring of the simplest wiring system on the face of the earth that I have ever come across. I mean, I was trying to do that stupid starter. If I knew where a GM engineer lived, I'd probably go punch him in the face, because my gosh, what a pain in the butt. I literally couldn't get the starter in and out of it until the hood is off, and I don't know how many hundreds of pounds, well, maybe it's not hundreds of pounds, but it was a pain in the butt. So I was hoping to find the oil leak, but I'm not seeing the oil leak. We're gonna obviously run it out of here and do some serious pressure washing. I didn't realize it was getting that oily up underneath the hood, because it's, I mean, if you can see it in there, the oil's just caked in around the exhaust manifold, and that's got to go. There's no having oil on the exhaust manifold. That's not cool. Having sawdust fall down through the hood to be a fire hazard of the sawdust around the exhaust, that's bad enough. But oil, no, oil's got to go. So I'm guessing, you know, I get it out of here and I have it running a little longer because I want it to be idling when I pressure wash it, so that if there's a leak somewhere and I'm pressure washing it, it just shuts off, and then I'm not putting copious amounts of water into something that will keep it from running. I know that from experience. But yeah, this is back in the day when John Deere did not make a diesel engine. They sourced their diesel engines from GM diesel power, the old two-strokes. It's a 253, and it is OEM from John Deere with a 253 Jimmy. And all it does is it turns diesel fuel into smoke and loud noise. Ugh. But I guess that's part of the cool factor. But it works, it functions, and it moves logs on a scale that Tinkerbell can't even touch. So anyway, I don't know what else to talk about. I think that's about it. I think I've shown the forks before, but you can see we don't use the original bucket. We just built it so that the logs could get back as far as possible, because when we move logs, we move logs. We're not moving chicken scratch logs, that's for sure. Because I've had many times I've had the back end of this machine pick up off the ground, and I gotta go to moving the log one end at a time across the ground, and then I get it to the mill, and once it's to the mill, I can just walk over here and set one end up on the rollway at a time. I got Tinkerbell fixed, so now that's moving around. And set, you know, one end up on the rollway at a time, and then set the other end up on the rollway. And slide it in. Turn it into lumber. Whatever everybody wants to order. So anyway, there's a Mount Slabia over there. I don't know how many slabs are there, but it's a lot. That's a lot of the bottom slabs that we wound up not putting into the bundles. So anyway, I think that's enough excitement for one video. Happy to have this running. I got the Angry Johnny, that's what we call it. We had the previous one that was gas powered, we called it Johnny Pop, but this one's diesel powered, so we call it Angry Johnny for, well, if anybody's been around a two-stroke Jimmy, you know why you would call it angry, because, well, not very many people talk about it, but basically because it's two-stroke and it's spinning at 2,500 RPMs, your ear is accustomed to a four-stroke. And when it's a two-stroke, it sounds to your ear like it's turning $5,000, because you're accustomed to a four-stroke. But it sounds like it's turning $5,000, but in reality it's only turning 2,500. if that makes any sense to anybody. So, yeah, that's another thing I'll mention is, as you can see, just like the skidder, it's got a spark arrestor on it, because this is well over, well, it's 253, so it's 53 cubic inches per piston. And you've got a blower, and that's a positive displacement blower, and it blows air in because it's got a piston crown. It's rigged up it's just like a gigantic chainsaw is basically the best way I can describe it. But because it has more than one piston, it has to have forced draft into the combustion chamber. When it's a single piston, you don't need the forced draft from a blower, or some people call them a supercharger. Generally, when an engine requires forced induction on a two-stroke, I call it a blower. And then when it's something for fun on a four-stroke, I refer to it as a supercharger. Whether that's the right way of doing it or not, I don't know, but it makes sense to me. So we'll probably trade that alternator in, because that alternator is for a negative ground system. I'm glad we caught it before we installed it, because throwing a negative ground alternator onto a positive ground system, yeah, you let the smoke out of the wires in a hurry on that, or at the very least the starter would spin the wrong direction. Of course, these things, it might actually try to run in the wrong direction, because that was one thing they used in the marine world, is they ran these things, they'd run two of them in a boat, and they were real easy to rig up so that one of them would spin the opposite direction. They do about the same thing on an airplane when you got two propellers, so they spin in opposite directions, so the plane is, or the boat is in balance going through the water or going through the air. So anyway, oh, I think that about sums it up. I'll probably make another video after this thing's fully assembled. I'll probably put my headband on with the camera, and then you'll be looking out through there. It's kind of like running a forklift. You can't see what you're doing practically. So anyway, thanks all for watching. Bye.